Hey there, it's happy hour. So today what I wanted to do was make a household for my upcoming Let's Play. I wanted to play The Sims 4 Seasons. As I said in my last video, I've spent so much of my time redoing all my worlds and giving all my Sims makeovers that I haven't had much time to actually play the game in live mode or live mode, however you pronounce it. But that's what I wanted to do today. This household is very much inspired by my household that I mentioned again in my last video. So if you have not seen my last video, I would recommend checking it out. I gave the Jing household a makeover, a Maxis makeover, which is my favorite thing to do in The Sims. But this household that I'm making today is very much inspired by the household that I lost when I lost all my game when I had to restart my computer. Basically, I had to factory reset my computer, but thankfully I still have them on the gallery, and they are a very diverse group of Sims. It's 3 best friends, and I liked the dynamic of having friends live together. Where I usually play families, I decided instead to play a group of friends, and I thought that was a very interesting dynamic because they all have their own stuff going on, their own career interests, etc., etc., and I guess that you could say a family has the same thing, but I don't know, there's something about just having friends living together. That's one thing I really love about city living that I've kind of fallen in love with, that I guess you don't get in other packs. I'm not really sure. I guess you get it in Get Together as well, but I never really played with just friends. Like, I never had a household full of just friends living together before San Myshuno because I could never really justify like 3 people just living in a house together, though I guess that there is a few Maxis households that are like that. I personally don't really understand. I can't justify it in my own head, at least. So I mean, because it's city living, you can live in apartments, of course. I think that it makes a lot more sense to have roommates in apartments. So in my game, before I lost everything, I suppose, I created a lot more just roommate type households with just friends living together or acquaintances, and I really like that dynamic of having to build the relationship between them and not already having that bond. But I do love, like, my heart will always drift towards having a family in The Sims and, living out their lives together and having that bond. So part of my household that I'm making today is partially a family, and I'll get to that in a second. This is Rochelle Hong, and she's my main Sim. She kind of gives me Carrie Bradshaw vibes from I suppose Sex and the City, but the prequel to that, which I have forgotten the name of, a young Carrie Bradshaw is what she reminds me of. So Rochelle has a sister named Merriweather, and Merriweather has a family of her own. I do create Merriweather in this video, but I just wanted to have the genetics in CAS all in one video, because I just thought it'd be easier for myself to do that. But yeah, so it's Rochelle, and then I believe it's, well, 2 girls including her sister, so she's going to be living with 1 other girl and then 2 other boys. But I really think that it's gonna be interesting to play these Sims because in The Sims, there's not a lot of households at least since I've done Willow Creek and Oasis Springs, I've given every sim a makeover. Um, there's not a lot of diversity in the game. At least maybe I'm just thinking of Windenburg because that's the world that's most fresh in my mind, but there's not a ton of diversity in my game. So I really love making households that have multiple ethnicities. Of course, in San Myshuno, there are a ton of different cultures, but before that, I don't think we really had anything that compared to that. So I love having that in my game, and I always take every opportunity to add more of that. Um, so today you'll see I intended Rochelle and Merriweather to be Korean. However, I am not 100% sure if that last name is a Korean last name. It's inspired by a girl that I know in real life. However, there's also, I know, a Native American sim that I make. There's a white male sim that I make. I suppose I shouldn't have made him a male, but and then I have a black sim, and he has a skin disease, and I know the name of the skin disease that he has, but I'm not sure how to pronounce it, so I won't even try to attempt that. You'll see in a few minutes. But this is a very female heavy game, household, I guess you would call it, save file. I guess it's just that way. I guess I make it that way unconsciously because I am a female myself, of course. But I think it's going to be a very interesting dynamic. I think it's half boys and half girls, if I'm not mistaken. This household in particular took me forever to make. It took me like an hour and 30 minutes. But I have sped that up for you so you don't have to sit through an hour and a half of me talking, thank God. But yeah, it took me quite a while, and honestly, like, I don't understand why, because I just took households from the gallery and gave them makeovers, and I do show that. I will give credit in the description of all of the households that I took from the gallery, because I like having the features on my Sims of various ethnicities, like, realistic, I guess you would call them, like Korean Sims. I don't want to take a white base and then try to make it Korean myself, because I myself don't particularly know all of the unique qualities of people that are Korean. So I want to make sure that I'm using Sims that are accurate and not just like my own interpretation of that, because that's kind of dangerous territory there. But you will see I do download a Native American sim from the gallery, and I download a black sim from the gallery. But I do enjoy doing that, like downloading them from the gallery and having them be accurate instead of just my own interpretations, because I think it makes my game more realistic and I enjoy it that way. I do also plan to have LGBT representation in this Let's Play. I'm not sure if I'm going to make Rochelle a lesbian, or if I'm going to make my black sim Desmond. I'm not sure if I think that he is going to be gay, but I'm not 100% sure. I was thinking of making Merriweather a lesbian, but again, I actually made her the wife of the sim that's white, so that I could have a biracial marriage, which I really think that's interesting. Oh, the sim I don't use, I don't end up using that sim that I just made. See, this is the sim that I just made Rochelle from, and her sister. I got the genetics from that sim, and now I'm looking for an Indian sim, and I actually ended up doing Native American Indian, though I use the term Native American. Um, I do change her quite a bit because I don't want her to be a stereotypical, like, Native American person. I want her to be a human, you know? Like, I want her to be realistic. For any of my Sims, that's what I want them to be. I don't want them to just be, like, stereotypes of their ethnicities. You see, I got rid of that crazy Sim that popped up for me. Oh, pardon me. I did not make my white male Sim married to Merriweather. I actually made him married to this Sim right here, which I know I end up changing the name of. I think her name ends up being Dakota. Just because I don't want to butcher that name. I do like the last name Sosi, because I've used it. I used it in my old save file before I lost all my game. One of my main Sims was a Native American. One of the ones that I played often was Native American. And so I really wanted to have that representation in here. Because I think it's important. I don't really think that you see a lot of, like, Native American representation anywhere. Or at least you don't notice it. It's not, like, vocalized. I mean, to be honest, there's not a lot of Native American representation just, like, in real life besides the media. Which is sad, and so I want to make sure that that group of people have their representation in any content that I create. So again, I really wanted to make these Sims human. My Sim, Rochelle, I think that was the Sim that I kind of based the entire household around. I really enjoyed the fact that she wasn't just a white guy, to be honest. I liked the idea of her having crazy hair and still being a Korean and still embracing her heritage, but I liked that idea of making her human. And honestly, it's not an idea, it's real life. So also, I apologize because I do live on a busy street and there are motorcycles and cars passing by. One just passed by, so I'm not sure if you heard that, but my apologies. I don't think I'm being that loud in my squeaky chair today, which is great. However, this chair is highly uncomfortable, and I was sitting for an hour and a half there, here today. And I do live with a dog that barks a lot, so it's my dog. I say I live with a dog, like I don't, like she's my roommate or something, but I don't mean it that way. She is my dog, and she barks a lot. She's a little Shih Tzu. I actually made my Sim self the other day, and she was a Shih Tzu. Oh my gosh, no, she wasn't. She wasn't a Shih Tzu, pardon me. She had a Shih Tzu. This is what happens when I talk and I just don't think about what I'm saying. I'm so sorry. Yeah, so I finished my Native American Sim, and now I'm looking at Black Sims from the gallery because I want their features to be right. I don't want it to just be my own interpretation. So I picked this one, and I do make him darker because I feel like there's not. Again, I am white. I'm a female. I don't speak for these people, but I don't believe that there's much dark skin representation on just in the media in general. So I wanted to represent that. He's not as dark as I would have liked him to be, but I didn't think that, like, for some reason, I didn't think that he looked right. Like, I felt like his features were a little, I don't know, almost light skin. So I didn't want him to be, I didn't want him to be dark skin. I will make more dark skin Sims in the future, because I do believe that it's important to represent, every shade of color. You see that bunny outfit that I just clicked. I was looking at that for a while and I was like, wow, this is just what he should wear all the time. But I didn't want to make him into someone that doesn't come out of their costume ever. You can see I did add that skin disease that I was mentioning before. I do make it a little darker, as you can see, because I thought that the white was a little daunting. Of course, that is realistic, but for this particular sim, I felt that his personality suited a darker shade of, I'm not even sure what you call them. I'm gonna call them patches, but I'm sure that that's not the right term at all to use, so my apologies in advance for that. But I did think that he looks really good. I really like this sim. He's very unique. He has freckles. I love his freckles, and I love his dreads, and I think his skin is beautiful. So I really love Desmond. I think he's one of my favorites that I made today. Actually, the next sim that I'm going to make is the final sim, and I wanted a white character in the mix, but I did recycle that sim from my old household that I mentioned in my last video once again. I keep mentioning them because they meant a lot to me and I just lost them, so my apologies for that. But I just reused one of my old sims because I couldn't find. I wanted to make my white sim to be my LGBT representation, but I couldn't find one that I really liked. All of them were like stereotypical or not the way that I wanted them to look, and I don't know. You see me favoriting some of these, but I don't end up using any of them. I just end up using my own, as I said before. And he is straight, and he's a straight white male. So, not that that's a bad thing. It's just kind of funny that I want to add all this diversity, and I end up having a straight white male. But yeah, so this is Caesar Kenny. It was very easy for me to make him because, I mean, once again, I already had him. He's ready to go. I really love this sim. He's very handsome. I'm trying not to reuse his old plot line from my old gameplay, but we'll see what happens. I'm going to go ahead and cut off right here, but thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon. Please leave a like. Drop me a like because it helps me a lot, actually. It helps get my videos out there. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye!